Are we willing to make the necessary sacrifices? Because it is a capitalistic system. So that sacrifice means doing work for free because there's no money for it. Because of course there's no money to get your community together. Like what you is expecting? Some trust fund, right? So let's. So I guess Inkiru can go first. Are we willing to make the sacrifices, the necessary sacrifices today?
So I'll take the approach that I'll take in answering that question would be on the more extreme side. I think when it comes to our people, African-Americans, Africans in the diaspora, wherever we may find ourselves, collectively, I would say that no, the answer is no. Not enough of us are willing to make that sacrifice because not enough of us are willing to die for it. um, you know, I think with, as you rightly mentioned, Marlon, with Brother Minister Malcolm and Dr. King and so many others in our past, in our history, they were willing to die. Like they knew they were going to die because of, their people. I mean, there were just so many things against them. Obviously, they looked death in the face every day. It was just like a matter of time, but they did what they had to do to get that message out, to support their people, until their time was up, unfortunately. But I think for many of us, having these types of discussions, amongst ourselves or on different platforms like this, I would say it's not enough. It's good. Obviously, it gets the conversation going. It gets us kind of thinking about it. But how many of us are willing to kind of take that next step, which is, like those sit-ins or boycotting, for many of us, we'll be upset. We'll see different things in the news and the media that annoys us. And, we'll say, okay, we're not going to spend money with this organization. But just as we mentioned earlier, after a short amount of time, we'll still go back and support these organizations. There are different reasons why we do that. But so I just think ultimately, not a lot of us are willing to make that sacrifice. If one person sacrifices, it's not going to make, I guess, a significant amount of change compared to all of us or a majority of us making those sacrifices.
Right. Thank you, Inkiru. Personally, yes, I think I'm with you on that one. I see in the community a situation where we have people that are, well, I think the vast majority of people are just trying to survive. I think, like Gloria put it, they are living the culture to survive. And the culture to thrive is not even like, are you like, look, I have to survive. I have to feel comfortable that I will survive before I can even think about thriving. So I'm not trying to like shame or blame anyone in regards to, the idea behind, doing all you can and giving everything for, I have to, I have to say that, when you think about like even the redlining or like, the urban renewal, they literally had like highways and they would design them to make sure that they divide communities. Like design the highway right through the community to purposely turn it into two communities. There are probably a whole lot more things that were done in this complex system to ensure that we are not unified. And that lack of unity, that lack of belief that we can actually truly overcome is something that I think we just have to deal with somehow. I don't know how, but I do know that a house divided cannot accomplish much. And unfortunately, there is sacrifice involved in this work. You don't get paid. You do a lot of work. You spend a lot of time. Sometimes it's thankless. Sometimes people don't show up. Sometimes people that even agree with you, things don't work out. But nonetheless, you still have to push ahead. So I think like as a modern day person that's really, really trying to, do what I can and add to the struggle, to add value, my value to the struggle, the organization. I will say that getting participation about serious issues, about these real issues is really difficult. And we have to find a way to cut through the fog and make sure that people are listening and, and we've got to learn technology. we've got to start gaining the institutional knowledge that is required to win. Because I'm telling you, from the complex nature of what's going on, trust me, it's not going. It's not people are not going away without a fight. And I just hope that we're going to be prepared, and not just to fight. Like, it's not about violence or anything like that. It's about, really strategically, taking the real enemies on, dealing with some enemies now, leaving the ones that are not so dangerous later. I mean, a lot of things. And I just feel like we need a lot of, that. I think we can definitely do it, but we definitely need some kind of awakening of sorts to really understand where we are. Tonya.
I think the question that I have would be, what do we mean by necessary sacrifices? Because everyone's level of sacrifice is different. And I mean, I can give you like a brief example for me. So I work for the state, and I work in a county where I work with predominantly Black and brown poor families. And I offer all the services that I can offer. Like, I max out the budget for the state. Like, I don't care. And I was told a few weeks ago that that budget is also a part of the budget for like the salaries. And I was told that if we continue to give too many services to the families, that it would infringe upon us being able to get raises. And I let them know that I just don't really care. If it means that I'll be stuck at the same salary for a few years, then so be it. These families need money for their lives. They need money for food. They need to be able to pay for the hotel that they're in because they just got evicted. Like, they need this stuff. They need the counseling services. So who are we to deny them these things when we have the money to give it to them? So that's where the question really comes, like, what do you mean by necessary sacrifices? Like, everyone can't go to march and get arrested. You know what I mean? So I guess, like, what do we mean by sacrifice? Like, everyone has to sacrifice something. Am I willing to sacrifice? Yes, but not necessarily going to jail. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. No. That's I think it's relative. I agree with you. It is relative. But there still needs to be some people that are going to go to jail. I guess is what I'm trying to say. People. These are the people that we are holding in such high regard. These are the ancestors that we're holding in such high regard, and this is the sacrifices that they made. Now, of course, I think what Tonya was saying was basically that everybody's sacrifice is going to be different, and that is completely understandable. And I don't think it's about everybody going to jail. Obviously, not but some people will have to go to jail, and whatever sacrifices that you feel is necessary. There's some, what do you think? Are we willing? Because some people may not even feel that there's anything to even sacrifice. Like, they're not sacrificing anything.
So your question is,
are we willing to make the necessary sacrifices today to get to the mountaintop?
oh no, he did say mountaintop. Okay, so this is where I'm at. They done took Keanu out of the coffin for Matrix. What was it, just 3 or 4? And I just feel like there's a bit of Matrix going on here, folks, because the distractions that are before us to distract us from seeing the restrictiveness that is real it's continuous, and so when I think about sacrifice, I think more in terms of, are we willing to put those distractions down and focus on what needs to be done? Whether it's, I don't even want to give examples. I think folks will have to make their own resolution with themselves when they look and see, like, nothing's going to change if I keep doing this. And when Miss T before me was talking about, when I was talking about B, I was talking about B. Smith, the black woman who was a food restaurateur and all that. She was talking about the kind of work that she does, and with Go-Go Bites, going out and talking to people about making making some different choices about what they eat and how it really affects your mental health from your belly up, and that the multi layers of the system that has been working on us for 400 years trying to break us down, and still I rise, right? It's now in our food system so deep, because before we didn't have a choice what we were eating. And so now we have a choice, and it's really kind of difficult to make people even to make that sacrifice when it comes to putting down the pork rinds and and salt, not even salt, just be, listen.
Salt on it. Some salt.
Salt. So for real, I think that it's going to have to be a situation where, as you spoke, like the veil is going to have to be removed. Folks are going to have to be willing to be awake all the time and conscious all the time, and be aware of the distractions that are, distracting us from the restrictiveness that keeps coming at us. Wow, this is a deep conversation.
So I guess I'll be the bookend this question by responding in this way. I think that everyone has a particular role to play. I don't think everybody's been called or is, because I believe people are called to things, but I don't believe people have all been called to the same thing. I don't believe people have the same capabilities. People are not in the same position to make whatever, quote unquote sacrifices necessary. So I think that where everybody is, they should ask the question: what are they willing to sacrifice? What are they willing, to give up? And oftentimes, unfortunately, that takes on the or has resulted in you being willing to sacrifice your life, basically to give up your life or to give up your the freedoms that you do have by being jailed or incarcerated. But I think there are to bring up other people into this discussion as well, of Martin and Malcolm. Even when you think about Muhammad Ali, the sacrifice that he made was economic, and also the prime years of his fighting career, to stand up for what was right, and ultimately he was in a sense vindicated, even though people will still hate him to this day. But he was ultimately vindicated because of course the war in Vietnam was a fool's errand, and it was something that was destructive to the internal security of the United States and also to the Vietnamese people overseas in North and South Vietnam. But also, when you think about Angela Davis, who sacrificed, prestige and also economic gain to tell truth and continue to tell truth in academic circles, and also with some of the revolutionary ideas and things that she presented and continues to present to this day. I think she just recently released a book on abolition. But again, like these are sacrifices that people made from the particular positions and contexts that they were in. So no, it doesn't require necessarily for everybody just to get arrested. Everybody can't go to jail. Everybody can't lose their life. We wouldn't have any movement if that was the case. But the idea should be that wherever you are, in whatever space and place and time that you are in, what is that thing? What are those things that you are willing to sacrifice that may be important? You may even want to hold on to. But what are those things that you must be willing to put on the table? You must be willing to give up in order to see others rise, and our community ultimately to rise, for our situation to be different, for our society to be transformed in significant ways, not the performative ways, and not in policy that doesn't really have teeth to it, but in real and concrete ways. What are we willing to sacrifice so that the real and concrete things can be gained and can be done in our society? And so I think that is the conversation as it relates to sacrifices, is in your various places and stations and contexts. What does that look like?